80% of people that have started their resolutions at the beginning of January are done with them.
So I think people are way too ambitious. They set up this unrealistic goal for themselves. This is why people fail throughout the first month of the new year.
They forget that it's going to be hard work, right? Like it's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be like, oh, now you're going to love the gym and now you're going to love to eat healthy. No, it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people fail. Well, welcome to the podcast, guys. Today we have a he's special.
Not
He's
so
a
special guest.
But I would say he's not a guest. We have Ruben Vargas with us today, and we're going to talk about resolutions. We are 1 month into 2025, and I'm sure, Ruben, that it's gone by pretty fast for you, right?
Yeah, especially with my schedule. I feel like the month's already over. So
Pretty much. It's
Yeah.
pretty much over.
is this supposed to be like a New Year resolution podcast?
Kind of. I think by this time, what's today? What's the date today? Today is
no
January
idea.
23rd when we are shooting this. And by this time, I think it's like, what do I have here? I got like 80% of people that have started their resolutions at the beginning of January are done with them.
Mm-hmm.
They're no longer sticking to their plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the month goes by so fast, the year goes by so fast. So I want to talk really about resolutions, why we stop them, and how we can make sure we stick to them. Because I think that even if you stopped, you can just start again, right? Make a February resolution. Start again.
Yeah. You don't need a date. Like, I'm personally not the person that will wait for the first of the new year to make a goal or
Right.
resolution. I'm just like, throughout the year, if I have something I want to do, I'll be like, okay, let's get started. Let's work towards it. I'm just not the type of person to set a goal like that on the first.
I almost think so in 2023, I started my goals in like October. And I thought, okay, if I can start in October and I can get to January, then there'll be like the second boost of motivation to keep going because I'm already kind of starting. But
I see.
I think that starting January 1st is to me, I agree with you. I'm not on that I don't like to do it on the first. I always seem to fail those.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, people set up themselves for failure. I don't know if it's just a mindset thing. I think they set up themselves for failure by waiting to the first, because then they need a sense of motivation to even do something.
And it seems like too, a lot of people, it's like, well, I'm going to get through the holidays, right? which really means I'm going to eat as much as I want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to be kind of lazy during this vacation time, and I'm going to really hit the ground running on January 1st. And I just don't think that ever really happens.
No. Too many people use excuses and then they go, okay, I'll start fresh this day.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, you can start fresh that day or the next day tomorrow. You don't have to wait.
You don't have to wait till the 1st. You don't have to wait till a Monday. You could start on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday afternoon, you can make some. So did you set any goals, any resolutions?
No, like I said, I'm not the type of person to do that type of stuff. I think in the past I did, but I would set up myself for failure because I wouldn't know how to tackle these goals. I didn't really think it through, to where now I'm more mature and I can go, okay, if I want to do this year or this month, let me actually think about it. Let me set up a system in place and then go ahead and go about it.
So I would disagree with you in the sense, like, I think you should set some goals in the beginning of the year. Now, maybe not like working out, dieting, all that. I think that could be a life change at any moment. But I think it's kind of cool to start the year like, okay, by the end of this year, I want to accomplish, read X amount of books or save a certain amount of money or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do set some goals. I set some goals for my life in the beginning of the year, but I do like to kind of start them during the holidays. So I'm kind of getting in somewhat of a rhythm and a routine before I get to the first.
So did you set any goals this past month?
Oh, did I set any goals this past month? I did set goals, but again, I set them for like in November or December. Like I was already working towards them. But again, yeah, I want to read more books for sure. I kind of fell off the reading train. I did, dude. Like last year, the year before, I read a bunch of books. Not a bunch. I mean, for me, a bunch is like 5. But I want to read more. I don't read enough. And I know you're still reading this book that I saw you reading for like a year.
I like it for reference.
Well, I think Isaiah found this. Isaiah, our friend Isaiah, most of you know him. He found this thing that you can summarize a book in like 10 minutes. It's an app. And you could just, I guess, I don't know if that counts.
ChatGPT or what?
No. I guess you could do the same thing. But I don't think that counts.
No, I don't think so.
I
I
think
mean, you can kind of get the synopsis of it. I guess I think that does count.
You think so?
Yeah.
So if I okay.
So like, for example, there's this book called Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to read it. I knew it was a popular book. I knew it was really worth reading, but I was like, I don't want to read this right now. So I looked up a video, a summary on it. In 30 minutes, I was able to get the whole idea of it.
So you didn't read it?
No, but
That's
I
a good
understand.
book.
I understand the logic of it.
Right.
Yes.
But I think in it, there's a lot of good stories and a lot of good. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't count it as a book. So if you said, "Oh, I read Atomic Habits,"
I would never say I read it though.
See, that's. What
I would
he's
say I
saying, though.
understand the concept of the book.
Mhm.
I would encourage somebody to read it.
Yeah.
But that's I would never say I read it.
Yeah, but our friend is saying that it counts as reading a book,
Oh, I disagree.
and I don't think that counts as. I think that's cheating.
Yeah.
I don't even. I can't even.
Isaiah
do
would do
audiobooks.
something like that.
Yeah, he would. I can't even do audiobooks either.
He
I
probably
don't
does that
like
with the Bible too.
No, he does not. No, he does not. Can we edit that out? No, dude, sorry, Isaiah. I hope you watch this episode, and I'll find out if you actually watch the podcast
man.
if you say something about this or not. Okay, let me ask you this. I want you to guess. What are the top 10 New Year's resolutions or New Year's goals for 2025?
What are the top?
Yes.
Oh,
What do you
that
think
people
they are?
make?
Yes.
Does it matter if it's just general people or Christians or
General people, United States,
I
2025.
mean, the typical ones, in my opinion, are like losing weight or going to the gym, possibly like quitting like alcohol and stuff like that, or drugs or something like that, smoking, and then maybe reading more. Those are the ones that come to mind.
That's like 5. Right?
That's like 5.
All right. I'll tell you what they are. Number 1. What do you think the number 1 is?
Going to the gym or losing weight.
No, number 1 is to save more money.
Oh, okay.
Save more money.
That's a good one.
Number 2 is eat healthier.
Okay.
Number 3 is exercise more. Number 4 is lose weight, which kind of is the same. You know, you can't really lose weight without eating better or exercising, unless you take some medication or something.
Ozempic.
Yeah. Number 5 is spend more time with family and friends.
I've never heard of that one.
Well, I think
As a goal.
in today's world, you probably need that. Number 6 is live more economically.
So save money.
Yeah. It's ChatGPT gave me these numbers. Number 7 is spend less time on social media. I think that we all should do that one. Do you
That's a
spend a
good
lot
one.
of time on social media?
I would say yes and no. Like a lot of my time, like if you look at my hours, YouTube will be the number 1 because I put on a podcast and just set it to the side. Oh, so I would say yes and no? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a little. Yeah, I think that's. I find myself scrolling through Instagram a little bit too much.
Like I don't scroll on Instagram or social media until like I get home.
Really. So
Yeah.
even at
At
the
work, I
office?
will maybe occasionally, like if I'm eating, but that's about it.
Yeah, I realize social media is super boring once you get away from it for a little bit and then come back to it. But it's addicting, dude.
Dopamine hit.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. All right, so spend less time on social media is number 7. Number 8 is improve job performance. That's a good one too, I think. Number 9 is reduce stress. Cool. And number 10 is quit smoking. Now, here's the sad thing, as we mentioned earlier, that most of these people that started these things are no longer doing them. What do you think most people struggle with when it comes to accomplishing these goals?
I think I'll use myself an example is people are too ambitious when they set these goals. So like I remember one time years ago when I wanted to start working out, I was like, okay, I'm going to start working out now. And I got a gym membership. I went to the gym, but I was like, I'm at the gym and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just doing random workouts and I would feel so unsatisfied after the workout because I'm like, I don't feel accomplished. I don't know what I did. I don't even know if I was doing things right. So I think people are way too ambitious and they set up this unrealistic goal for themselves to where it's like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't have a game plan. And overall it's unrealistic. And a lot of the things, and like I was saying, Atomic Habits, like, they don't know how to set a habit to, what's the word he uses? They don't set up the proper way to cue the habits properly, like to set them up as being something that you can have a routine with. So like they set them up. This is why people fail throughout the first month of the new year. Like for me, for example, I'll go to the gym. When I started going to the gym, I didn't know what I was doing. After 2-3 weeks of going, I was like, this is not for me. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no game plan. So I stopped going. And this was a long time ago, but now I go.
I think I agree with you. I think what people do is they'll start with, okay, January 1st, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. I'm gonna take my greens or whatever, vitamins or whatever, right? And they look up these routines on YouTube and they say, okay, these are, I got to do exactly what this guy's doing, not realizing that you're trying to throw all these habits on yourself when you've been waking up at 10:30 every day. You've been eating whatever you wanted. You don't go to the gym. You don't work out. You have no routine set up, and now you're building in your head. You're like, okay, I'm going to be this person. This is the kind of guy I'm going to be. Now, some people I will say probably are disciplined enough to do that. I think that's super rare, though. I think I agree with you. I think people set these really high expectations, but I think what most people miss when it comes to setting goals and becoming disciplined and building these habits is they forget that it's going to be hard work. Right? Like it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like, oh, now you're going to love the gym and now you're going to love to eat healthy. No, it's going to be really difficult. Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people fail.
Yeah, they don't know how to start a habit properly. And I was looking at my phone. It's called like the 3-step loop for a habit is you're cueing the habit, you're then doing the routine of it, and then you're rewarding yourself for it. So like you cue like for example, for the gym for me in the morning is I wake up, get ready, get changed, head to the gym. After the gym, I'm satisfied. My reward is I feel good about myself. So I don't think people understand that they need to have those 3 things in place in order for it to feel, I guess, good or worth obtaining or achieving or going after. Because people will say, "Oh, well, I want to read more this year," but it's like, okay, what's your game plan for that? Yeah, like, what's going to cue you to start reading? And is it just, oh, I want to read more, or is it no, I'm going to read 15 minutes a day or something?
Right. Well, I think that's where, again, not to interrupt you, but that's where people get it wrong. Yeah. Is they'll go on and say, I'm going to read a book a month and I'm going to read a chapter a day. Yeah. And then you're like 5 minutes into reading, you're like, dude, this is so boring. I'm not, so I think it's starting, like you said, practically like almost like small, like read for 2 minutes, read for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Minimize it. Make it more obtainable. Make it more, make it a less barrier to entry. So if 5 minutes didn't work out for you or 10, 15 minutes didn't work out for you, minimize it. 2 minutes a day. Right. The fact that you even sat down, opened the book, and read one page is a great way to start.
And I think be satisfied with that. Right. There's something that I wrote down is celebrate the small wins. So if you read a page or read for 2 minutes, don't say, oh, I should have read for 30 or I should have read 2 chapters. I should have. No, I read today. You are becoming the person who reads daily. Right. Yeah. So I think if you're watching, I want to know, comment your tricks or your tips on how to be practical with your habits, but also realize if you've fallen off, keep going, just get up, just start again, right? If you're like, man, I spent this whole month, I didn't work out once. Okay, then tomorrow get up and do 10 push-ups. Just do something that you can say, I'm starting to do this.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest wins that people don't realize is like, for example, I was like, when I was going to a public gym, I would see people go and you can kind of tell like they're heavy set and you can tell that they're for the new year, like they're trying to, lose weight or something. The fact that they even went is a big accomplishment in itself. And I don't think people acknowledge that in their own lives.
There's a story in the Atomic Habits. It's a great story. It's about a guy who lost 100 pounds. Do you know about this one? No. And so the way that the writer tells the story, and it's a true story, so it's not like he's making it up, but it's like a testimony of building habits and starting with a practical win. So this guy, he wants to lose 100 pounds. He's heavy. He wants to eat right and all these different things. He wants to start going to the gym. But like most people, he has that problem. I don't know what I'm doing, right? I feel weird at the gym. So he said what he started with, and it sounds dumb. It sounds silly, but it worked. He said, I'm just going to get up and I'm going to go to the gym every day, but I'm not going to go inside yet. And so every day he started building this habit. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm just going to go. And so now in his routine, in his life, he's teaching himself, he's building himself to be the guy that goes to the gym. And then he says, okay, today I'm gonna start going in for 5 minutes. And he goes in for 5 minutes. And he basically starts building this habit of every day I go to the gym. Every day it's part of my routine. And little by little, he starts to grow that habit from sitting in the parking lot in his car to spending 5 minutes in the gym to now I'm working out. And now it's a part of his daily life. And then he, obviously, he made a bunch of other changes too, but he started with a practical, measurable little habit to become the kind of person that he wants to become, right? So if you want to read, if you want to be a person of prayer, if you want to be a person who reads the Bible, if you want to be a person who's disciplined in working out, then start really small. Yeah. I think people put the expectation on themselves. It's just too high.
Yeah. I remember one season of my life where I don't know what triggered it. I don't know if it was like a service or someone ministering and encouraged me to like get really dialed in with reading the word and worshiping more. It started off with me just, all right, every morning I'm going to do it. So at, 7 a.m. or whatever, my alarm would go off. All right, let me go to the living room. And this is like pre-Nixon, so now my hands are full with him. Pre-Nixon, I would wake up at 7 a.m. every day, go to the living room. I'm uninterrupted. I'm by myself. Let me just start off by waking up every day on time. Let me just start off after that. Okay, I can do this. Let me now set the atmosphere like in the living room by myself, like put some music in the background so I can, read or something. Okay, this is manageable. Okay, now let me start opening up my Bible and start reading at least a page a day.
Right.
To now let me read chapters a day, to reading 10 chapters a day or something. And I was like, this is how you build a habit. This is how you make things manageable. You start off with the small things, whether it's just like this gentleman going to the gym, even though he didn't answer. I'd be kind of weirded out if I saw him in the parking lot every day.
Who's this guy? Somebody call the cops. Somebody come get this guy.
Oh man. But that's how you start off with building a healthy habit per se. And habits have like this bad notation, like, oh man, you have bad habits, or it's just a habit that I have. Like, no, there's such thing as good habits. Right. You can definitely become the person you want to be by developing good habits and attaching it to even other habits and going, okay, after the gym, I'm then gonna read the word.
Right.
Or, after I'm done getting ready for the day, then I'm gonna go work out. You can attach things to good things, like
habit stacking.
Habit stacking.
Right.
There you go.
Hey, before we continue on with this episode, I want to thank our sponsors, David Hernandez Ministries. Also, I want to thank our Bold community partners who support us every single month. If you'd like to become a supporter of this podcast, of this channel, you can do that by signing up on our website by going to the link in the description. Thank you so much. Now let's get back into the episode. But I think the problem is because people put such high expectations on themselves, they don't want to spend the time doing the little things. So I can see somebody saying, man, what a waste of time going to the gym like that. What a waste of time. If I'm going to go work out. The problem is you've not gone for a year. You know what I mean? And now a year turns into 2. And now the question is, what kind of person could you have become if you just started small instead of putting these high expectations on yourself to do all these major things? If you just said, okay, I'm going to work out for 15 minutes, not I'm going to get a gym pass, not I'm going to go for hours, not I'm going to eat right, not yet. I'm just going to go to the gym, or I'm just going to start eating right. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to eat less calories. Like whatever those things are, I think we overestimate. There's a quote that says something like, we overestimate what could be done in a year and we underestimate what could be done in 10. And so it's like, if you just start becoming that person little by little, building those little habits that are attainable, that are easy to track, that are easy to follow, eventually you'll become the guy that lost 100 pounds.
Oh yeah,
you'll
definitely
become the guy who's studying the word. You'll become the guy who's in deep daily prayer. But it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. And I know some people are wired differently, like where they can just do it and go all in.
Yeah,
props to you. Awesome.
For sure.
But you don't know other people's stories to go, oh, that's a waste of time to just show up to the gym and not actually walk in.
Yeah,
like you have no idea how hard it was for that person to even get out of bed, possibly be depressed because they're not satisfied with the way they look, to get in a vehicle, to dress in gym clothes, and then to go to the gym. Like you have no idea what that person's background is. Like when people go to church, like when people, like obviously when the new year starts, you see a attendance, skyrocket because people are, one of their goals as a Christian is, let me go to church more, or I'm going to take my family to church. So now they start going with their family and you see attendance go up and people go, oh, why don't you just go to church? Like, why is it so hard for you? Like, you have no idea how hard it was for them to go.
Right.
Like they could have been dealing with like church hurt, and I hate using that, but they could have been dealing with things that they've dealt with in an old church that they just didn't like. And now that they're at a new church, like you don't diminish that. Like celebrate that they're even there.
Right. I think there's 2 things that you can do to really succeed in keeping those goals, not just setting them, but actually accomplishing them. I think it's preparation and it's accountability. Right. So for an example, if you're saying, I put it this way, like I control what I can control in the best case, right? So like I've never been the kind of guy to just wake up early easily. It's always been a struggle for me. So what I do is like, okay, if I do want to work out in the morning, or if I have goals that I'm setting in the morning time, what I do is I prepare for them at night, right? I create a plan. If I'm going to work out, I have my gym clothes laid out in the morning. Right. So if you want, I'm not a runner, but I hate running.
I like running.
No, I hate running. But if you're going to run, set out your running shoes, at night and create these plans. If I'm used to staying up late, then I'm gonna prep for the early morning while I'm up, right? So I think preparation. Same thing with like eating right. You're not gonna eat right if you have all this junk in your house.
Yeah.
Throw it out. Prepare your life. You're not. Same thing with reading the Word, right? If you want to set that habit, then okay, I have to take social media off my phone, right? Or I have to leave my phone in my room while I go pray, or whatever. You're preparing these things. And then I think what the second one is accountability. And I think that's even like a biblical truth is like you can't really accomplish a lot of great things by yourself. There's always the need for people, right? To have strong brothers around you, people or brothers or sisters, people that could really help you. I think for me, like I've never been the type to work out ever. I was that guy that would go to the gym and be like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. This is, and then you would say things like, this is not for me. I'm not that kind of guy. But I started to get older and I realized, man, I want to be around for my kids. I want to be able to play with them without, huffing and puffing from running the hallway with them.
I want to live till I'm 120.
Yeah. Well, I saw a Netflix documentary called Don't Die.
Oh, Brian Johnson or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that pale white guy.
looks like a vampire. It looks like Twilight. Have you seen that, Marcel? This guy's, he's literally trying to become younger.
Yeah. He's trying to live forever. And he'll have interviews where people will say, do you think you're going to die? He'll be like, no. Which I think is crazy. But I personally, like, I will tell the people at the office, I'm going to live till I'm 120. And they make fun of me. But when I live past them, I'm going to be like,
we'll
I told
all be
you.
dead.
I know. I'm like, I told you guys.
You're going to be on our funeral.
I'm going to be reading at the funeral. I told you guys.
throw the note on the casket. Told you so. Just throw it on there. Anyway, like I was saying, I want to live long, right? And so what I did was I realized I didn't eat right. I didn't exercise. And I had some guys in my life that I was like, man, there was specifically Isaac Rumman. He was on a podcast guest. So if you want to know about him, you watch that episode. Good friend of mine. And I called him. I said, hey, bro, listen, I'm being lazy. I'm not holding myself accountable to these goals that I'm setting. I'm gaining weight. I think I was the heaviest I'd ever been. I was like 180 something. And I said, I need you to help. I need your help to stay accountable to starting to exercise, to work out. I had him, Steven, and my brother in a group chat. And our group chat was called Carry the Boats. Gosh, yeah, super cheesy. But every day I would send them a workout. And I started working out every day, and I would send them a snapshot of the things that I did. And it became this thing where if I missed it, they would know. And it changed me, bro. It changed my life. Now I can honestly say that exercise is a part of my lifestyle. Working out is a part of my lifestyle. Do I do it every day? No. But I lost some weight. I've built some healthy habits because I had a plan, but ultimately I think because I had accountability. And I think most people miss that because either they're embarrassed, they're shy, or they simply don't want that. Accountability is super important in building habits.
Yeah, that makes me think of like you're a byproduct of like your environment.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons I started working out was one day your brother approached me and he sat me down this is like back in Paramount a long time ago. This was years ago, maybe 2018.
Paramount is our old church, by the way.
Our old church in Paramount, California.
Yeah.
He sits me down and he goes, Ruben, can I talk to you? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever you want. And he goes, Ruben, you need to watch what you're eating. And at this point in my life, I wasn't like obese. I was never obese. But I could see it in my face, in my me gaining a little bit of weight. Right. And I was like, oh, man. And he was telling me, and I'm like, I appreciate you telling me that, man. And no joke, after he told me that, I got a gym membership. It didn't work out for me, like I said. I just didn't know what to do. But I was like, no, I'm still going to commit to this. I'm going to stay to this.
Right.
So then I'm like, let me go to another gym where maybe there's a sense of community or something. So then I started doing CrossFit. And to this day, I still do that. But that's what helped me out is having people in my life to tell me hey, man, watch what you're eating or watch what you're doing. To then going, all right, let me put myself in an environment where I can be accountable to people. So at the gym I was at, it was a matter of if they didn't see me for so many days in a row, they would get a text message sent out to me and they'd be like, hey, Ruben, we didn't see you at the gym today. How's it going? And I know it wasn't automated. I know it was them.
Like a church.
Yeah, kind of like a church. And I was like, I'll be there tomorrow. And I would feel not like this guilt or shame, but I'd be like, oh man, I should get going. Yeah. I should stop missing a day or two. I should keep staying on track and will also help me out in this because you're talking about, being around people that you can be accountable to, but also like it also starts with like even like in your environment.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I needed to encourage myself to go, I would probably listen to like a podcast or something, or I would put myself in a room where like things around me in the room are like uplifting or entertaining to where I can be like, okay, I'm in the mood to go to the gym. Let me go to the gym. Or after I listen to certain music, I'm going to go to the gym. Or even with reading, like I know that I will definitely read more and not want to stop reading if I'm putting worship music in the background that is strictly, I don't want to say lo-fi, strictly just instrumental.
Instrumental, yeah.
Instrumental.
Words distract, huh?
Words distract me.
Me too.
So I notice if I just put music on that's only instrumental, I open the Bible and I worship and I read, I know that I will not keep track of time.
Right. It's like setting the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Because the environment that we surround ourselves with, whether it's people, the things we entertain ourselves with, all that matters in becoming the kind of person that we want to become, right? And I think that accountability, there's actually a study about it. I wanted to read this. It says it's the Dominican University study. Participants were divided into groups based on goal-setting behaviors. Those who wrote down their goals, which actually is a great idea, and shared them with a friend or had accountability, achieved 65% of their goals, compared to much lower success rate for those who didn't engage in these practices. So it shows you that accountability and sharing those goals with people actually makes a difference. And I think if you're around people that are like, man, don't do that. You're one of those guys that sets goals. You're one of those guys that writes these things down. That's probably not a good group you want to be around. You know what I mean? You want to, even the Bible talks about it, right? Bad company corrupts good morals, right? That who we surround ourselves with is who we become. Yeah. And so that's why, what does it say? Like look at your 5 closest friends, and that's kind of who you are.
Yeah. You're like the sum of them.
Right. The sum of your the sum of your 5 closest friends. And I think we take on these big goals. And I think this is why a lot of people fail, is because you take on these big goals, you build these big resolutions, and you fail to prepare by setting the right environment, by getting rid of the distractions, by getting rid of the obstacles. And you fail to bring people along the ride with you. Yeah. And I think that's so important in these things.
Yeah. Like one of the greatest things that I've been able to overcome is like addiction to pornography. And I know this is steering the conversation a different way, but like I wouldn't be able to overcome things like this if it weren't for me, setting a game plan in place, not only relying on the Lord and being in the Word and stuff, but also creating an environment to where my phone's not with me.
Right.
Or my phone's in another room. Like I can't touch that phone. Or I'm not going to be alone. Like if I was still living at home with my parents, I'd be like, I'm not going to be home alone when they're gone. Let me go out for a walk. Let me go to the park or something. Like you have to create an environment to where you can't be tempted. You have to create an environment where you're influenced to go to the gym if you want to, be active, or if you want to, quit, drinking or smoking. You can't be in an environment where all your friends do is drink and smoke. Exactly. You're going to end up doing the exact same thing. So you have to create a place where you go, okay, this is how I can achieve these things, by being around the people that will encourage me, that won't do that. If you want to start reading this year, join a book club. Right. If you want to, if you think you're an alcoholic, join Alcoholic Anonymous, if that's what it's called. You have to set yourself in a place where you're going, how can I do these? Make the healthy habit, make it achievable and attainable. Make it look attractive as well. One thing I loved doing when I started just the idea of reading the Word is I would always do it with coffee. That's how I would reward myself. Okay, I'm going to read the Word, but I get to drink coffee with it as well. This way it didn't in a way look like a chore. Yeah. Like I'll get to enjoy doing this. When I go to the gym, I know there's a podcast playing in the background or there's music playing on. Like it's making it enjoyable. So you got to do that the same way, whether you would do with even things like spiritually, like just make it enjoyable, make it attainable.
Yeah, I think I can already see people, the over spiritual people, you don't need discipline. You need to rely on the Holy Spirit. I think
those people never set goals for themselves.
Yeah, they wait for God to wake them up in the morning, drag them to their room, open the Bible for them.
They
and
expect
read to
God
them.
to do everything for them.
Yeah, but I can see that, right? But I think the physical discipline is so important to your spiritual life. I used to be that guy that was like, you're cheesy, setting goals on the first, like, just why don't you just do it? But I think there's something so important about the physical disciplines of our lives that lead us to spiritual maturity. There's a verse in 1 Corinthians 9, verse 24. It's Paul writing. It says, "Do you not know that in a race all runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified." And I think, we over spiritualize all these things, and we like, oh, just rely on the Holy Spirit. Yes, it is the Holy Spirit's work in you. As you said, to overcome the struggles you had, to overcome the struggles I had, it has to be a work of the Holy Spirit. But the Holy Spirit also gives you wisdom, and he gives you strength, and he gives you good friends, and it surrounds you with a good church and all these different things so that you can also do what Paul says. Like, there's a spiritual side of it, but there's also the physical discipline of saying, my spirit, I'm controlling my body. I'm not going to do all the things that it wants to do. Like even like eating bad, like that to me sometimes is like it's a lack of self-control. And what is the fruit of the Spirit? Self-control. And so it's like if you're walking in this lifestyle that's consistently just bad habit after bad habit after, then you're actually not even walking in the fruit of the Spirit.
That's good.
Right? You're walking in the flesh. And so physical discipline, I think it's more spiritual than we realize.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I can't imagine. And I think we've talked about this in another podcast. Like I can't stress how good it is to get in a healthy church to where you set yourself around a good community with people that are accountable to you. 'Cause they not only integrate like the word into you and like help you out spiritually, but it also reflects in your normal lifestyle.
Right.
Like with work, like I wouldn't know what being a hard worker is if I didn't have people around me that were hard workers, that were, like pastors or spiritual leaders. Like I wouldn't know what it is to be a hard worker by not looking at them and having them to reflect on.
Right.
Like I am able to say I am a hard worker because I know what hard work is and I know what hard working men do. When it comes to people who are fit, like if they're around me, like I know what it is to be, not only spiritually fit, but physically fit as well, because I know men in the church that are physically fit. And I can look at them and go, oh man, that's what I want to look like, because that's really healthy for them. They're spiritually disciplined, but they're also like physically disciplined as well, because they know that the fruits of the Spirit, like they dwell in them. Like Isaac, I know he's a hard worker. I know he goes to the gym. Like he's the guy. Like that's his like title. Like he's the I don't even want to give him a title, but that's like his title. Like he's like the go-getter. Like he's like so disciplined and stuff like that. I'm not speaking negatively about him.
I hope you watch this, Isaac. That's a good compliment.
That's what he's known as. And it's like, okay, you can also rely on that person. But I'm assuming also it doesn't just stem from his natural behavior, but it's also like spiritual gifts. Like I personally would not be a good father if I wasn't for spiritual gifts. Like I'm very dependable, I'm reliable, and I know that'll stem from spiritual gifts and reading the word, and I can apply that to, being a good husband, being a good father for my son. Yeah. It all stems from spiritualness as well.
The Spirit will change your nature. And I think we often, again, over spiritualize all these things, and we say, well, God, I had this prayer one time. Again, it was one of those moments where I'm like, man, I'm not waking up on time. I'm not working out. I'm not doing the things I need to do. And I prayed, I said, Lord, I need you to give me more grace, right? Give me more strength to do what I need to do. And I felt the Holy Spirit, he's like very clear, said, you don't need more grace. You need discipline. You need to build discipline. And that's kind of where there was a wake up call with the Holy Spirit of like, okay, I have everything. The Holy Spirit dwells in me. The fullness of God is dwelling within us. And so we really are without excuse. And I think our thing is we set ourselves up for failure, right? If you're struggling with things like pornography, but you have your phone all the time, you have no accountability, you have no blockers. If you're struggling with eating, you have all the snacks in your house. You're not it's like you're setting yourself up for failure. If you have trouble waking up on time, why are you up at 1:30 in the morning, right? 2:00 watching YouTube? Put it away. Like we're complaining that we're not accomplishing things, but we're actually building our life. We're just becoming the person we don't want to become. Yeah. By adding those things to our life.
And you just hear, I hate when people when there's Christians who like comment or will be in the church and they'll be like, I just can't overcome this sin. I can't overcome this struggle. Or like, I blame my parents for this because the way I was raised. And it's like, yeah, you feel for them, but it's like, no, this is solely on you. Like you tell me you can't overcome pornography but yet you're always on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the accounts you shouldn't be looking at. You're following people you shouldn't be. You're hanging around with people you shouldn't be. Like, no, you can't blame others around you. You can't, what is it called? I forget the terminology. I'll skip that. But you can't be blaming other people for your results. It's
about blame shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It solely depends on you.
Right.
I'm not going to blame my pastor. I'm not going to blame my friends, my wife, my son for my setbacks. That's solely on me.
Right.
There are things that are somewhat out of my control, but I'm not going to blame them for my struggles. If I'm struggling with pornography, I'm not going to blame my wife or my son.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, that's solely on me. If I ever end up coming to a place where where I'm struggling again, I'm gonna be like, Crystal, here, hold my phone for a while. Like, I don't want to be on it right now.
Yeah.
When it comes to movies, Crystal, like, I'm gonna fast forward this part really quick because it has like a sexual scene in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, that's solely on me. I set up myself for failure if I watch those things.
Right. I think there's in the Atomic Habits, he talks about at every decision you make is a vote for the kind of person you want to be. Right. So everything you do daily, from the little things to the greater things, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think those little decisions that we make, yes, it is a spiritual thing, but there must be physical discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You can't quit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think a lot of people get discouraged when it's like, okay, I'm a month into January. I've done nothing. If anything, I went backwards. I'll wait till 2026
mm-hmm.
or I'll wait till the 1st of February or I'll wait till it's like, no, why not do it now? Like the way I'm starting to look at my life in the sense of like, God's given me this life and life is short, right? There's generations past, our ancestors. We don't even know their names, like you have this small span of, even if you make it to 120 years or this guy on Netflix, makes it to 200 or whatever he's trying to do, like that's still a short span in consideration to generations and eternity, right?
Definitely.
And so the way I look at it is like, God's given me this time right now. Mm-hmm. And I can either complain about who I am and just whine about it and wish I was somebody better, or wish I was somebody different, or every day get up and start doing things that the person I want to become would do.
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he talks about like focusing on identity in Atomic Habits. Like you have to go to a place to where not only you're going to desire these things, but you're going to say, I am going to do these things. Not like, oh, in the new year, I'm going to go ahead and stop drinking. Okay, well, what does that look like? You have to then say, oh, well, in the new year, I'm going to stop drinking because I actually have a game plan. And instead of going to the bar, every weekend like I normally do, I'm going to minimize that to maybe once a month. I'm going to start with slow wins. You have to put yourself in an environment, in an identity environment or mindset, where you start identifying with who you are going to become. Mm-hmm. Like as a person who struggled with a lot, my identity now isn't, oh man, pity me, like, oh, I've dealt with this, look at me, like, look what I've overcome. No, my identity is like, this is who God has called me to be. He's called me righteous. I'm now righteous. I'm no longer going to want to identify myself with sin. Like, in order for me to be a Christian, I now have to identify with these things.
Right.
Like, I am a Christian. I do these things because this is what God wants me to do, and this is my identity. It's no longer, oh, I struggle, I am a sinner. Like, I hate that the idea of like, oh, don't speak it into existence. But at the same time, it's like, no, like you have to identify with these things.
Right.
I identify with being a Christian because I try to live right. I try to read the word. I try to do what God calls me to do. I try to do these things. I identify with these things. And that's a great thing that he talks about in the book, I believe, is learn to identify with these things. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to desire these things, or one day I'll be a Christian, one day I'll get saved. No, I am going to be a Christian by doing this, by giving myself to the Lord, by, submitting myself to the word, by, looking at all of the things in scripture and going, okay, this makes sense. Now let me cancel this in my life. Like that's one thing that I think is, and it's not even a Christian book, but I would highly advise it.
I think it's biblical principles, right? Mm-hmm. It's the identity. So it's a simple term I used to say when I would be tempted to do the things I used to do. I would just simply say, that's not me anymore. Like I would tell myself that, like, that's not who I am. Mm-hmm. That's who the old Mike was. Yeah. But now who I am, I don't do that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes into your daily life. There was another story in that book, Atomic Habits, where he talks about quitting smoking, and he says they found success when a way to find success is if somebody says, something along the lines of, you get offered a cigarette, and somebody would say, oh, I'm trying to quit, right? he said a better way to say that would be, well, I don't smoke. Right. So it's like you're speaking who you want to become. And I think every day we can make those changes. And so I think the beautiful thing about life is that you pretty much have a fresh start every morning. And you have the decision to make, like, okay, do I want where I am now? Do I want to be here next month? Okay. If I don't, then I've got to get up with some purpose and say, okay, I may have not worked out yesterday. I may have not read my Bible yesterday. I may have not prayed yesterday. I might have ate junk yesterday, but today I can do something different. Today I can make a better decision. And let's say you make some good decisions today and then you wake up tomorrow and you mess up. Then get up, start again. And I think we are too hard on ourselves when we fail. It's like failure is just, I think failure sometimes just really magnifies the things that we need to change. And so if I'm consistently failing, that means there is an obstacle in my life that I need to remove.
Yeah, I think it's healthy to fail.
Right.
You learn from failure, and it can be things as practical as going to the gym. Okay, maybe I skipped 1 or 2 days, but you know what? I'm not going to skip 3 days in a row. It's okay to, I'm not saying it is okay, but you can miss reading the word for 1 day and just go, all right, you know what? I missed today, but you know what? I'm not going to miss tomorrow.
Right.
You have to identify with these things and go, people with failure, unfortunately, they have a bad relationship with because it's a set it and forget it. With failure, it's like, oh man, I messed up. And now they start identifying in failure and you start going, oh, well, I just don't read my word. Or, well, oh, I just have a drinking problem. I just can't give it up. No, you have to identify with failure and going, okay, yes, I messed up. Yes, I skipped a day, but you know what? That's no longer who I am. And if my goal this year is, oh, I'm going to run a marathon at the end of the year, my identity, I believe in the book again, I believe he says something along the lines like, don't say you're going to run a marathon. Say you're a runner. Don't say, you know, I'm going to read more. Say, I am going to read this many pages a day.
Or I'm a reader.
Or I'm a reader.
I read books.
Yeah. So start identifying with these things. And I hate the word manifestation, but it does apply to your life and you end up identifying with these things and start becoming those things.
Yeah. You speak it. You speak who you believe you are based on what the scripture tells you are. Right. Like the Bible talks about discipline. The Bible talks about holiness. The Bible talks about self-control. The Bible talks about all these things. And so what we're essentially saying is I am who God says I am. That's who I am, and I'm going to live in that. Now, I may have made a mistake that my flesh loves, that my flesh did, or that I used to be, but I don't have to live in that. And I think that's the biggest difference. Failure isn't really failure until you give up. Right? You can make a lot of mistakes and keep going. You can do a lot of dumb things and keep trying to learn and keep trying to grow. I think the biggest failure the biggest thing is failure is when you just stop. Say, okay, well, I'm just not that person. I'm not the guy that goes to the gym. I'm not the guy that eats right. I'm not the guy that reads my word. I'm not spiritual like that. No, you can be. Just don't live in the failure. Get up. Don't have a pity party. Don't cry over it. Find your accountability. Tell them, like, I had those days when I didn't work out or when I ate terrible. I text the guys and I said, guys, today was a terrible day. You know, like it's 11 o'clock. I'm sitting here. I just had a bowl of ice cream, you know, like, and I am not going to work out. Like, I'm letting you know I have failed today, but tomorrow I'm going to try again.
Yeah.
And guess what? I would get up and I would try again. And you know what I started doing? I stopped doing? I stopped buying ice cream. All right, I stopped buying the Oreos.
I love ice cream. I don't know how you can do that.
I do too, bro. Ice cream is like a if there's ice cream around, that's why I had to stop buying it.
Like your guilty pleasure?
Yeah, I love ice cream.
Okay, but that's one way. That's a good example. Like for example, if you're gonna start, you know, wanting to lose weight this year, or if you want to start working out to look good or something, like it's okay to occasionally have a snack or dessert.
It's a lifestyle.
It's occasionally okay to, you know, maybe miss the gym 1 day for recovery. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have times and there's going to be a time and place for things. Like, it's okay to, you know, plan for setbacks. Like, if I ever travel, like, sometimes I understand, like, I'm not going to work out for the next 2 days because I'm going to be traveling and they're just going to be too busy. It's okay to plan for setbacks or plan for, like, failures. Like, it's okay. You can occasionally have a cheat meal if you work out consistently. It's okay. Yeah. Like, if you're a Christian and you're constantly reading the word, you're constantly going to church, like, it's okay to one day you're like, oh man, I didn't read my word. Like, it just slipped my mind. Like, it's okay one day. Now, don't come at me and like be all legalistic about it and be like, oh no, you got to read the word every day. But like, It's okay to mess up one time.
I think the point is not to be too hard on yourself, right?
Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself.
I think the spiritual things, don't be too hard on yourself when you miss. And the physical disciplines, it's okay to plan, right? Okay, I'm going to have one cheat meal this weekend, right? And I think the point of that, like, and I think that's where the spiritual and the physical are a little bit different, right? Because you don't want to plan and say, okay, I'm going to have one day away from God. Like, that's a bad idea.
One day I'm just going to
yeah, one day of sin. Like, that's not smart. But I think it's okay to have one cheat meal, or like, I'm going to skip the gym today, I'm going to rest, or whatever that is. But I think the point is to be honest with yourself. And I think those two things, prepare and find accountability. Just don't quit. I think that's the biggest thing, is don't quit. So here's what I want you guys to do. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I had a great time. I wish that you were more available to be on these more often.
What are you talking about? I'm always available.
Yeah, right. Let me tell you guys what it's like trying to book Ruben.
Oh, gosh.
Hey, Ruben, when are you available? Hey, I'm available.
Thursday and Friday.
I'm available February 7th from 10:30 a.m. to 10:45. And I have a meeting. Then I'll be available again from 12 to 1. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Sorry,
anyway, I enjoy the conversations.
Sorry.
But here's what I want you guys to do. If you watched it, you enjoyed it, I want you to write down in the comments, I want you to write down some of the goals that you're setting and some of the plans you're making. Remember, you can't succeed without a plan and without accountability. So write out a plan and find some accountability. But man, Ruben, thanks for joining today, man. Appreciate it. Hey, I hope you liked the episode. If you did and you enjoy content like this, make sure you like the video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe, make sure you turn on the notifications so that you can be notified every single time we release brand new content. We do podcasts just like this every single week. Also, if you enjoyed Ruben as a guest, make sure you subscribe to his channel. His YouTube link will be in the description. Thank you. See you next time.